The military tribunal was held in the main conference room of Starbase 7. Marcus stood at attention in his dress uniform, facing 5 senior officers who would decide his fate. General Harrison, the base commander, looked like he wanted to throw Marcus out an airlock. "Sergeant Chen," the general began, "you are charged with disobeying direct orders, wasting military resources, and creating a security risk by bringing enemy combatants onto this base." "Sir, with respect, they were children," Marcus replied. "Non-combatants." "They were Zethkree," snapped Colonel Wright from the end of the table. "The same species that killed 3,000 colonists on Harmony Station. The same creatures that melted through Private Stevens with their acid spit." Marcus kept his face blank, but inside he burned. He had been there when Stevens died. The young soldier had been like a little brother to him. But that did not change what he had seen in the hidden chamber. "The larvae showed no aggressive behavior," Marcus said. "They were protecting each other. They were scared and wounded." "Of course they were scared," General Harrison said. "They're programmed to survive until they're old enough to kill. That's how insects work, Sergeant." Dr. Sarah Kim cleared her throat from the back of the room. The xenobiologist had been studying the larvae for 3 weeks since Marcus brought them in. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and graying hair. "Actually, General, that's not quite accurate," she said. "May I speak?" Harrison frowned, but nodded. Dr. Kim approached the tribunal table with a data pad in her hands. "I've been running tests on the 8 larvae for 21 days now," she began. "What we've discovered challenges everything we thought we knew about Zethkree development." She tapped her data pad, and holographic images appeared above the table. The images showed the larvae in their containment facility, playing together and solving puzzles. These juveniles demonstrate advanced problem-solving abilities, complex social structures and emotional responses that go far beyond simple survival programming. Dr. Kim continued, "They show grief when separated, joy when reunited, and cooperative behavior that suggests high intelligence." "So they're smart bugs," Colonel Wright said dismissively. "That just makes them more dangerous." "There's more," Dr. Kim said. She tapped the pad again and new images appeared. "They've imprinted on Sergeant Chen." The tribunal members leaned forward. Marcus felt his stomach drop. "Explain," General Harrison demanded. "Imprinting is a psychological phenomenon, where young animals form a strong attachment to the first caregiver they encounter after birth or trauma," Dr. Kim explained. "It's common in Earth birds and mammals, but we didn't know it existed in Zethkree until now." The hologram showed Marcus's first visit to the containment facility. The larvae had rushed to the transparent wall when they saw him, chirping his name and pressing their small hands against the barrier. "They recognize him not just as their rescuer, but as their parent figure," Dr. Kim said. "They've learned to respond to his voice, follow his movements, and they become distressed when he's absent for long periods." Marcus remembered that first visit. The medical staff had told him the larvae were recovering well, but they refused to eat or interact with anyone. When Marcus entered the room, everything changed. The injured one he had found first came right up to him and nuzzled against his hand through the containment barrier. "This is fascinating from a scientific perspective," General Harrison admitted, "but it doesn't change the facts. These creatures will grow up to be our enemies." "Will they?" Dr. Kim challenged. "What if their development is influenced by their environment and caregiver? What if Sergeant Chen's act of compassion has already changed their fundamental programming?" Colonel Wright stood up angrily. "You're suggesting we turn enemy children into weapons against their own people?" "I'm suggesting we might be looking at the key to ending this war," Dr. Kim replied calmly. "These larvae have been sending biochemical signals since they arrived. We finally decoded them yesterday." She showed new data on the hologram. Complex chemical formulas scrolled past, along with translation notes. "They're not sending distress calls," Dr. Kim said. "They're sending messages of safety, protection, and care. They're telling any Zethkree who might receive these signals that they found a guardian who protects them without expecting anything in return." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. "Are you saying they're calling for help?" "No," Dr. Kim said. "They're calling to share an experience that apparently doesn't exist in Zethkree culture. the concept of altruistic care from a genetic stranger. The room fell silent. Marcus thought about the larvae he visited every day. They had grown larger and more active, but they remained gentle. They played games, created art from the materials he brought them, and always greeted him with obvious joy. The largest one, who called himself Kriya, had started trying to teach Marcus their language. The others had names too: Zixen, Mortil, Fira, and 4 others whose names Marcus was still learning to pronounce. They were not numbers or specimens. They were individuals with personalities and preferences. "General," Marcus said, "request permission to continue working with the larvae." "Absolutely not," Colonel Wright interjected. "This has gone far enough. These creatures need to be transferred to a high-security research facility where proper precautions can be taken." "Sir," Dr. Kim said, "separating the larvae from Sergeant Chen now could cause severe psychological trauma. They've formed a bond that appears to be crucial to their development." General Harrison rubbed his temples. The war was not going well despite recent victories. Casualties were mounting on both sides, and intelligence suggested the Zethkri were preparing a massive counterattack. Any advantage, no matter how strange, might be worth pursuing. "Dr. Kim, what exactly are you proposing?" the general asked. "Let Sergeant Chen continue his interactions with the larvae under controlled conditions," she said. "Let's see how this unprecedented relationship develops. We might learn something that could change the course of this war." Marcus looked at the tribunal members. These were good officers trying to protect humanity from a terrible enemy. They had every reason to be suspicious of his actions and motivations, but they also had to consider the possibility that he had stumbled onto something important. "If I agree to this," General Harrison said slowly, "Sergeant Chen will be restricted to base pending the outcome of this experiment. The larvae will remain in maximum security containment. Any sign of aggressive behavior or security risk, and this program ends immediately." "Understood, sir," Marcus said. "And Sergeant," the general added, "you will submit daily reports on your interactions. Dr. Kim will monitor everything and report directly to me. One wrong move, and you'll be court-martialed, and those creatures will be terminated. Are we clear?" "Crystal clear, sir." The tribunal adjourned, and Marcus was escorted back to his quarters. That evening, he visited the containment facility as he had every day since bringing the larvae to the base. They were waiting for him, pressed against the transparent wall. "Marcus!" Kriya called out in his musical voice. "Marcus, come back!" The others joined in, a chorus of alien voices speaking his name with obvious affection. Marcus placed his hand against the barrier, and all 8 larvae placed their small hands opposite his. Dr. Kim watched from her observation station. "They've been waiting by that wall for 3 hours, she told him, "ever since they sensed you were back on the base." Marcus looked at the young aliens who had somehow become his responsibility. They were growing fast, but they remained gentle and curious about the world around them. Whatever they might become, they were not monsters. Not yet. "What have I gotten myself into?" he murmured. Kriya tilted his head and looked directly at Marcus. In perfect, if slightly accented English, he said, "You saved us, Father Guardian, now we save you." Marcus stared in shock. "How did you learn to speak English so well?" "We listen, we learn. We want to be like our Father Guardian," Kriya explained. "We want to protect like you protect." Dr. Kim made notes frantically. "This is incredible," she whispered. "They're learning at an exponential rate. And did you hear what he called you?" Marcus had heard. Father Guardian. Not just a protector, but family. He was beginning to understand that his choice in the crashed ship had consequences he never imagined. These children were changing, influenced by his care and protection, but he was changing too, learning to see the universe through their innocent eyes. The war continued to rage across the galaxy, but in the containment facility of Starbase 7, something unprecedented was growing. A bond between species that might just hold the key to peace, if they could survive long enough to see it through. The smoke still rose from the crashed alien ship when Sergeant Marcus Chen and his squad reached the wreckage. 3 days had passed since the Zethkri colony vessel had fallen from the sky like a dying star. Now it lay broken across the rocky ground, its biometal hull split open like a cracked egg. "Stay sharp," Marcus told his 5 soldiers as they moved through the twisted metal. "Intel says there might be survivors." The war between humans and the Zethkri had been going on for 2 years. The bug-like aliens were fierce fighters with razor-sharp claws and acid spit. They had destroyed 3 human colonies before the Terran Defense Force finally started winning battles. Marcus had seen too many good soldiers die to these creatures. Private Johnson kicked at a piece of debris. "Sarge, this place gives me the creeps." Everything looks alive, he was right. Zethkri ships were grown, not built. The walls had veins running through them, and some sections still pulsed weakly with alien life. The air smelled like copper and rotting flowers. "Movement ahead," whispered Corporal Martinez, raising her rifle. Marcus held up his hand, signaling the squad to stop. Through his scope, he could see into the ship's interior. Nothing moved. The silence felt heavy, like the moment before a storm. They entered through a tear in the hull. Inside, the ship was a maze of curved passages and organic chambers. Emergency lights cast everything in a sickly green glow. Bodies of Zethkri warriors lay scattered around, their insect-like forms twisted and broken. "Poor bastards never had a chance," muttered Private Kelly, stepping over a dead alien. Marcus nodded, but something felt wrong. In all his battles with the Zethkri, he had never seen them abandon their wounded. They always fought to the death or carried their injured away. Yet here lay dozens of bodies left behind. "Sir," called Specialist Wong from deeper in the ship. "You need to see this." Marcus followed Wong's voice through the winding passages. They found themselves in what looked like the ship's center. Strange machines lined the walls, their purposes unknown, but Wong was pointing at something else entirely. "There's a hidden chamber back here. The entrance is almost sealed, but I can hear something moving inside." Marcus listened carefully. A soft scratching sound came from behind the biometal wall. It could be a trapped warrior, wounded and dangerous, or it could be something else entirely. "Stand back," Marcus ordered. He placed a small explosive charge on the wall and counted down. The blast tore open a hole big enough to crawl through. The smell hit them first, not the death smell they expected, but something sweet and clean. Marcus shone his flashlight through the opening and froze. Inside the chamber were 8 Zethkri larvae. They were smaller than adult humans, pale white, and covered in soft fur instead of the hard shells of grown warriors. But what stopped Marcus cold was what they were doing. The largest larva had wrapped itself around 3 smaller ones, protecting them from falling debris. 2 others had positioned themselves as guards by the entrance. The smallest larva was injured, green blood seeping from a cut on its side, while another larva carefully cleaned the wound. "Holy shit," breathed Johnson. "Are those kids?" "They're baby bugs," snarled Martinez, raising her rifle. "Future killers. We should torch them now and save ourselves the trouble later." Marcus stared at the scene. The larvae had noticed their presence but showed no fear. Instead, the larger ones moved to shield the smaller ones. The wounded larva looked directly at Marcus with large, dark eyes that held surprising intelligence. "They're just children," Marcus said quietly. "They're the enemy, Sarge," Johnson insisted. "Command's orders are to eliminate all survivors." Marcus had followed orders his whole military career. He had killed Zethkri warriors in battle without hesitation, but these were not warriors. They were children, abandoned and frightened, protecting each other in the darkness. The injured larva made a soft chirping sound. The others responded with similar sounds like birds calling to each other. One of the larger larvae slowly approached the opening where Marcus stood. It stopped just out of reach and made a gesture that looked almost like a human wave. "Are you kidding me right now?" Martinez demanded. "It's trying to communicate, so what? In 10 years that thing will be ripping human throats out." "Maybe," Marcus said, "or maybe not." He thought about his own childhood, growing up on the colony world of New Hope. He remembered being scared during storms, how his mother would hold him until the fear passed. He thought about the colony children who had died when the Zethkri first attacked. He thought about Private Stevens, barely 18, who had been killed just last month. War was about protecting people. It was about making sure children could grow up safe. But what happened when the children belonged to the enemy? The largest larva moved closer. It reached out one small clawed hand and gently touched Marcus's glove. The touch was soft, almost pleading. "They're scared," Marcus realized aloud. "Good," snapped Martinez. "They should be. Now let's finish this and get out of here." Marcus looked at his squad. These were good soldiers who had followed him through hell. They trusted his judgment. They would do whatever he ordered. If he said kill the larvae, they would kill them without question. The injured larva chirped again, weaker this time. Green blood was pooling beneath it. Marcus made his decision. Johnson, call for emergency medical evacuation. Tell them we have wounded friendlies who need immediate attention. Sarge? Johnson stared at him in shock. These aren't friendlies. That's an order, Private. Marcus, Martinez said, using his first name instead of his rank. Think about what you're doing. Command will have your head for this. Maybe they will, Marcus admitted. But I won't murder children, even alien ones. He climbed through the opening into the hidden chamber. The larvae watched him with their large eyes but did not run. Marcus knelt beside the wounded one and carefully examined the injury. The cut was deep but not fatal if treated quickly. It's okay, he said softly, though he knew they could not understand his words. We're going to help you. The larva looked up at him and made a soft trilling sound. It reached out with one small hand and touched his face. The touch was gentle and trusting. Behind him, Marcus heard Johnson reluctantly calling for the medical evacuation. Martinez cursed under her breath but began setting up a security perimeter. Wong and Kelly exchanged worried glances but followed orders. Marcus looked around the hidden chamber. The walls were covered with what looked like children's drawings, simple pictures made with clawed fingers in the soft biometal. Pictures of space, of stars, of creatures that might have been families. The largest larva approached him again. It pointed to itself and made a sound like Kriya. Then it pointed to Marcus and tilted its head questioningly. Marcus, he said, pointing to himself. My name is Marcus. Marcus, the larva repeated carefully, its voice like wind chimes. The others gathered around, each saying his name in their musical voices. They were not the mindless killers he had been taught to expect. They were children with names and voices and the ability to care for each other. The medical transport arrived 20 minutes later. The medics were shocked but professional, treating the alien children as they would any wounded beings. As the larvae were loaded onto stretchers, the largest one kept looking back at Marcus. Marcus, it called softly. Marcus. Marcus watched the transport fly away toward the human base. He had just changed everything, and he knew there would be consequences. But as he looked at the drawings on the chamber walls, he felt something he had not felt since the war began. Hope. Maybe there was another way forward. Maybe children could build bridges that warriors could not. Maybe protecting the innocent, even enemy innocence, was what made humans truly human. The war was far from over, but in that hidden chamber, Marcus Chen had planted the seeds of something entirely new. Lieutenant Marcus Chen stood in the observation deck of Starbase 7, watching the stars through the reinforced windows. 6 months had passed since the tribunal, and everything had changed. The larvae had grown into juveniles, each now the size of a human teenager. They had also learned to speak perfect English and showed intelligence that amazed everyone who worked with them. Father Guardian, a familiar voice called behind him. Marcus turned to see Kriya approaching. The young Zethkri had developed a shell that was more flexible than his warrior parents, colored in soft blues and greens instead of the harsh blacks and reds of adult fighters. His eyes remained large and expressive, filled with curiosity about the world. What are you doing up so late, Kriya? Marcus asked. The others are sleeping, but I feel strange, Kriya said, touching his chest. Something calls to me from far away. Do you feel it too? Marcus frowned. The juveniles had been experiencing odd sensations lately. Dr. Kim thought it might be connected to their rapid development, but she wasn't certain. What kind of call? Marcus asked. Like music from home, Kriya explained. But not home as it was. Home as it could be. Before Marcus could ask more questions, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Emergency lights bathed the corridors in red as personnel ran to their battle stations. Marcus's communicator crackled to life. All senior staff to the command center immediately, General Harrison's voice commanded. We have a situation. Marcus looked at Kriya, who seemed unsurprised by the emergency. You should return to the containment area, Marcus told him. No, Father Guardian, Kriya said firmly. This concerns us. All of us. They reached the command center to find chaos. Officers crowded around sensor displays while technicians worked frantically at their stations. Dr. Kim was already there, looking pale and worried. What's the situation? Marcus asked. General Harrison pointed to the main display screen. Long-range sensors picked up something 6 hours ago. It's big, it's Zethkri, and it's heading straight for us. The screen showed a massive shape moving through space. It was larger than any Zethkri vessel Marcus had ever seen, easily 10 times the size of their biggest battlecruisers. The bioship looked like a living cathedral, with organic spires and flowing curves that suggested incredible age and power. "How big is that thing?" Marcus whispered. "Roughly 3 kilometers long, 2 wide," the sensor operator reported. "Biosignatures indicate a crew of over 50,000, but that's just our best guess. We've never seen anything like this." Dr. Kim stepped forward, her datapad in hand. "General, I need to share something. The juveniles have been experiencing unusual sensations for the past week. They describe it as a call from home." "Are you suggesting they're in communication with that ship?" Colonel Wright demanded. "Not communication exactly," Dr. Kim said. "More like recognition. When I showed them the sensor readings, they immediately knew what it was." Marcus felt ice in his stomach. "What did they tell you?" "It's a Queen-class vessel," Dr. Kim said quietly. "According to Kriya, only the most powerful Zethkri mothers command ships like this. They're used for the most important missions in their society." General Harrison studied the display. "Important missions like wiping out a human starbase?" "No, sir," Dr. Kim said. "According to the juveniles, Queen-class vessels are used for one thing only: retrieving lost children." The command center fell silent except for the hum of equipment. Marcus felt everyone's eyes on him. The implication was clear. The massive alien ship was coming for the juveniles he had saved. "How long until it arrives?" General Harrison asked. "At current speed, 18 hours, the sensor operator replied. 18 hours, the general repeated. Not enough time to evacuate the base, and running would be pointless against something that big anyway. Marcus looked at the display again. The ship's organic design was beautiful in its own alien way, but the sheer size of it was terrifying. 50,000 Zethkri warriors could overwhelm any human defenses. "Sir," Marcus said, "I request permission to speak with the juveniles about this situation." Colonel Wright shook his head. "Absolutely not. This is clearly a trap. Those larvae have been signaling their location to enemy forces all along." "That's not true," Dr. Kim protested. "I've monitored all their biochemical emissions. They've been sending signals, yes, but not distress calls. They've been sharing emotional states and experiences." "What kind of experiences?" General Harrison asked. "Safety, protection, learning, growth," Dr. Kim listed. "And something else, affection. They've been broadcasting their emotional attachment to their guardian." Marcus felt his world shift. "They've been telling their people about me?" "More than that," Dr. Kim said. "They've been sharing the concept of cross-species adoption. The idea that a genetic stranger would risk everything to protect offspring that weren't his own." Colonel Wright cursed under his breath. "So they've painted a target on this entire base?" "Maybe," Dr. Kim admitted. "Or maybe they've done something unprecedented in galactic history." The debate continued for another hour as the alien ship drew closer. Finally, General Harrison made his decision. "Sergeant Chen, you have permission to speak with the juveniles. Find out what they know about that ship and what it wants. Dr. Kim will accompany you and monitor the session." Marcus and Dr. Kim hurried to the containment facility. All 8 juveniles were awake and waiting, pressed against the transparent walls of their expanded living space. Their shells were glowing with soft bioluminescence, a sign of strong emotion. "Father Guardian," Kriya called out. "The Great Mother comes." "Tell me about this Great Mother," Marcus said. The juveniles gathered around Kriya as he spoke. Even among the young aliens, he was clearly their leader and spokesman. "She who birthed our birth-giver," Kriya explained. "Most ancient, most wise, most powerful of our kind. She has lived for thousands of your years and commands the loyalty of millions." "Why is she coming here?" Marcus asked. "For us," said Fira, the smallest of the group, "but not to take us away." "Then what does she want?" The juveniles exchanged glances, communicating through subtle changes in their bioluminescence. Finally, Kriya spoke again. "She comes to understand the impossible thing," he said. "The human who saves enemy young and asks for nothing in return. The protector who teaches instead of destroys. She comes to meet our Father Guardian." Dr. Kim made frantic notes. "Marcus, do you understand what this means? You've done something that apparently has no equivalent in their culture." "What exactly have I done?" Marcus asked. "You've shown pure altruism," Dr. Kim explained. "Protection without genetic benefit. care without expectation of return. Most species, including humans, usually show favoritism to their own kind, but you risked everything for alien children who could never carry your genes forward. Creon nodded enthusiastically. Yes, Father Guardian breaks the old ways, shows new path. And the Great Mother wants to see this for herself, Zixon added. She brings gifts. What kind of gifts? Marcus asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. The gift of understanding, Mortil said. The gift of choice, and the gift of ending, Fira added quietly. Ending what? Dr. Kim demanded. The juveniles looked at each other again. Their bioluminescence dimmed as if they were sad or afraid. The war, Kriya said finally. The Great Mother has the power to end the war. But first, she must understand if humans are capable of the impossible thing, or if Father Guardian is unique among his kind. Marcus felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders like a heavy cloak. 50,000 Zethkri were coming to judge humanity based on his actions. The fate of the war, perhaps the fate of both species, might depend on what happened in the next 18 hours. What does she expect from me? Marcus asked. Truth, Kriya said simply. She will know if you speak with truth or deception. She will see into your heart and judge if your actions came from genuine care or clever strategy. Marcus looked at the 8 young aliens who had become like his own children. He thought about the choice he had made in the crashed ship 6 months ago. He had acted on instinct, following his heart rather than military protocol. Now that choice would be tested by one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. When she arrives, Marcus said, will you help me speak with her? We will translate your words, Kriya promised. But Father Guardian must speak his own truth. The alarm systems continued their urgent warnings as the Queen-class vessel approached. In the command center, General Harrison watched the sensors with growing dread. In the containment facility, 8 young Zethkri prepared to serve as bridges between 2 species that had known only war, and in between, 1 human soldier prepared to face the consequences of choosing compassion over orders, hope over fear, and love over hatred. The Great Mother was coming, and everything would change. The Great Mother's ship filled the viewport like a living mountain. Marcus had seen many alien vessels during the war, but nothing like this. The bioship pulsed with internal light, its organic surfaces flowing like slow water. Smaller ships emerged from openings along its hull, not fighters or bombers, but what looked like ceremonial escorts. No weapon signatures, the sensor operator reported with obvious relief. All their weapon ports are sealed. They're broadcasting on standard diplomatic frequencies. General Harrison looked skeptical. Since when do the Zethkri use diplomatic frequencies? Since never, Colonel Wright replied. This has to be a trick. Marcus stood in the command center watching the impossible scene unfold. The juveniles had been moved to the main laboratory for the meeting, their containment fields deactivated for the first time since their arrival. Dr. Kim monitored their vital signs while they prepared for what Kriya called the truth-seeing incoming transmission. The communications officer announced, "It's unlike anything we've received before. The signal is carrying both electromagnetic and biochemical components. Put it through the translation matrix," Dr. Kim instructed from her station. The juveniles taught us how to interpret their chemical languages. The main screen flickered, then resolved into an image that made everyone in the command center step backward. The Great Mother was enormous, easily 3 times the size of an adult Zethkri warrior. Her shell was deep purple and gold, marked with patterns that seemed to shift and change as she moved. But it was her eyes that commanded attention, ancient, intelligent, and filled with power that made the air itself feel heavy. When she spoke, her voice came through both the audio systems and as a wave of psychic pressure that pressed against every human mind in the room. "I am she who births nations, mother of 10,000 broods, keeper of the ancient ways," the translation system rendered her words. "I come seeking the one called Father Guardian by my lost children." Marcus stepped forward, his legs feeling weak but his resolve strong. "I am Marcus Chen, the one who protected your offspring." The Great Mother's massive eyes fixed on him with an intensity that made him feel transparent. For a long moment she studied him in silence. Then she spoke again. "You are smaller than I expected for one who breaks the laws of nature." "I don't understand," Marcus replied. "You saved young that were not yours. You protected offspring who could never carry your genetic line forward. You risked your standing among your own kind for creatures you had been taught to kill," the Great Mother explained. This defies every law of evolution and survival. Why did you do this thing? Marcus thought about his answer carefully. The juveniles had warned him that the Great Mother could sense deception, that she would know if his words came from his heart or his head. Because they were children, he said simply. Because they were afraid and hurt and protecting each other. Because protecting innocence is what makes us human. The Great Mother leaned forward, her psychic presence growing stronger. Your own kind questioned this decision. They brought you before judges. They called you traitor to your species, yet you maintained your protection of my offspring. Why? Because it was right, Marcus said. Because someone had to choose compassion over fear. Around the command center, human officers watched in fascination and terror. They were witnessing something unprecedented, a philosophical debate between species that had been locked in deadly combat. Show me these offspring, the Great Mother commanded. The scene shifted to the laboratory where the 8 juveniles waited. They stood in a line, their shells glowing with excitement and nervousness. When they saw the Great Mother on the screen, they performed what looked like a ceremonial bow. Great Mother, Kriya spoke in the musical Zethkri language. We greet you with joy and honor. The Great Mother's expression softened as she looked at the young aliens. She spoke to them in rapid Zethkri, too fast for the translation systems to follow. The juveniles responded with their own flowing speech, their bioluminescence brightening as they talked. Dr. Kim monitored the conversation with growing amazement. They're telling her everything, she whispered to Marcus. About their rescue, about their time here, about their education and growth. The Great Mother listened for several minutes, occasionally asking questions that made the juveniles gesture toward the screen where Marcus could be seen. Finally, she turned her attention back to the command center. My offspring tell me remarkable things, she said. They say you visit them each day, not to study them as specimens, but to know them as individuals. They say you bring them gifts of knowledge and comfort. They say you have never asked them for information about our people or our weaknesses. That's correct, Marcus confirmed. They also tell me something impossible, the Great Mother continued. They say you have taught them that strength and gentleness are not opposites, that protection and vulnerability can coexist. These concepts do not exist in our culture. Colonel Wright stepped forward. What exactly are you offering here? What do you want from us? The Great Mother's eyes shifted to the Colonel, and he visibly flinched under her gaze. I offer what has never been offered in the history of either our peoples. I offer choice. What kind of choice? General Harrison asked. The choice to end this war in a way that honors both species, the Great Mother replied. Your father, Guardian, has shown my offspring something we did not know was possible. If his example represents the potential of your kind, then this conflict serves no purpose. She paused, her massive form shifting on the screen. But if he is unique among humans, if his compassion is an aberration rather than a possibility, then this war will continue until one of our species is extinct. The weight of her words settled over the command center like a heavy blanket. Marcus felt every eye in the room focusing on him. He was being asked to represent all of humanity, to prove that his species was capable of growth and change. How would we prove that humanity can change? Marcus asked. Join me, the Great Mother said simply. Leave your ship, your people, your familiar world. Come aboard my vessel and allow me to see into your mind completely. Let me understand the source of your compassion. If what I find there can be replicated in others of your kind, then we will have found a path to peace. And if you don't like what you find? Marcus asked. The Great Mother's expression grew sad. Then I will return to my people with word that humans are a threat that must be eliminated completely. This war will become a war of extinction. The command center erupted in protests. Colonel Wright demanded that Marcus refuse the offer. General Harrison pointed out that they had no guarantee the Great Mother wouldn't simply take Marcus hostage. Other officers suggested it was clearly a trap designed to capture their most valuable intelligence asset. But Marcus looked at the screen showing the 8 juveniles. They were watching him with their large, trusting eyes. Kriya had positioned himself closest to the camera, and Marcus could see the hope and fear mixed in his expression. If I come with you, Marcus said, what happens to them? They choose, the Great Mother replied. They may return with me to learn the ways of our people, or they may remain here to serve as bridges between our kinds. Their choice will be honored. Marcus thought about everything that had led to this moment. His choice in the crashed ship had started as a simple act of mercy. Now it had grown into something that might determine the fate of two civilizations. "I'll come with you," Marcus said quietly. The protests in the command center grew louder, but Marcus held up his hand for silence. "This is my choice to make. I saved those children because it was right. If my choice can save millions more lives, then I have to try." The Great Mother nodded slowly. "You will be returned safely when our examination is complete, regardless of the outcome. This I swear by the ancient laws of guest right." "When do we do this?" Marcus asked. "Now," the Great Mother replied. "A transport is already approaching your station. Bring with you whatever items hold meaning for your heart. You may have need of them." Marcus looked around the command center one final time. These people had become his family during the war. They had trusted him, followed him, and now they would have to let him go into the unknown. "Take care of the juveniles while I'm gone," he told Dr. Kim. "Whatever happens, don't let anyone hurt them." "I promise," she replied. Tears in her eyes, Marcus headed for the docking bay, his mind racing with questions and possibilities. In a few minutes, he would board an alien ship and submit to examination by one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. The fate of two species rested on what she would find in his heart. As he walked through the corridors of Starbase 7, Marcus reflected on the strange path that had brought him here. 6 months ago, he had been a simple soldier following orders. Now he was about to become an ambassador for the best qualities of humanity. He only hoped that what the Great Mother found in his mind would be enough to stop a war and build something better for all the children of both species. The transport was waiting, beautiful and alien and terrifying. Marcus stepped aboard and felt the deck shift beneath his feet as the bioship sealed itself around him. The journey to meet destiny had begun. The inside of the Great Mother's ship was unlike anything Marcus had ever imagined. The corridors were alive, their walls pulsing gently with bioluminescent patterns that seemed to respond to his presence. The air was warm and humid, carrying scents of growing things and ancient wisdom. Zethkri attendants guided him through passages that curved and flowed like the inside of a vast organism. These were not the fierce warriors he had fought in battle, but slender, graceful beings whose shells bore intricate patterns of gold and silver. They watched him with curious eyes but showed no hostility. "The Great Mother awaits you in the heart chamber," one of them said in perfect English. "Do not fear, Father Guardian. You are honored guest here." The heart chamber was a vast spherical room at the center of the ship. Its walls were transparent, offering a view of the stars that made Marcus feel like he was floating in space itself. At the center of the room, surrounded by flowing organic furniture, sat the Great Mother. She was even more impressive in person than on the screen. Her massive form radiated an aura of age and power that made the air itself feel thick with history. When she looked at Marcus, he felt like she was seeing not just him, but through him to everything he had ever been or might become. "Approach, Father Guardian," she said, her psychic voice resonating in his mind rather than his ears. "Let us speak of truth and the future of our peoples." Marcus walked to the center of the chamber and stood before her. He had faced enemy fire and alien claws without flinching, but the weight of the Great Mother's attention made him feel exposed and vulnerable. "You came willingly," she observed, "despite knowing I could destroy your mind if I chose to do so." "You could," Marcus agreed, "but I don't think you will." "Why not?" Marcus thought about the 8 juveniles back on Starbase 7, about their gentle nature and curiosity about the world. "Because you're their grandmother. Because someone who cares enough about lost children to cross the galaxy isn't someone who destroys innocence." The Great Mother's expression shifted, becoming almost amused. "You judge me by the standards of your own species." "No," Marcus replied. "I judge you by the standards of the children you raised. They learned compassion somewhere." "Indeed they did," the Great Mother said. "They learned it from you." She gestured, and the chamber around them began to change. The walls became screens showing images from Marcus's memories. The moment he found the juveniles in the crashed ship, his first visit to the containment facility, countless hours spent teaching them about human culture and values. "I will now look into your mind completely," the Great Mother announced. "I will see every motivation, every fear, every hope that drives you. Are you prepared for this?" Marcus nodded, though his heart was racing. "Do what you need to do." The Great Mother extended one massive clawed hand and placed it gently on Marcus's forehead. The touch was surprisingly warm, and immediately the world around him dissolved. He was back on New Hope Colony, age 7, watching his mother tend to injured animals at the veterinary clinic. He felt again the wonder he had experienced seeing her heal creatures that could not thank her or repay her kindness. The memory shifted. He was 12, helping evacuate a damaged space station. He remembered carrying a crying alien child to safety, not knowing or caring what species it belonged to, only that it was scared and needed help. More memories flowed past, joining the military to protect people, not to conquer them. His horror at the first casualty reports from the Zethkri conflict. His determination to fight only to defend, never to destroy for the sake of destruction. The Great Mother saw it all. She witnessed his genuine grief for fallen comrades, his respect for worthy enemies, his belief that strength should serve to protect the weak. She saw his doubts, his fears, his moments of anger and hatred, but also his constant struggle to choose hope over despair. Finally, she saw the moment in the crashed ship, not from Marcus's perspective this time, but as she experienced it through her own understanding. She felt his instant recognition of the larvae as children first and enemies second. She experienced his decision to protect them as a reflexive act of compassion, not a calculated strategic choice. When the mental contact ended, Marcus staggered and nearly fell. The Great Mother caught him with surprising gentleness, her massive claws carefully supporting his weight. "What did you see?" Marcus asked when he could speak again. The Great Mother was quiet for a long time, her ancient eyes looking past him to something only she could perceive. When she finally spoke, her psychic voice carried overtones of wonder and sadness. "I saw something I did not believe could exist," she said. "A mind that chooses compassion not because it is rewarded, but because it is right. A heart that protects not because of genetic programming, but because of conscious moral choice." She moved away from him, her massive form pacing the chamber as she thought. "In all my long life, through countless broods and wars and peace treaties, I have never encountered a being who could extend parental protection to the offspring of enemies. It defies every law of survival I know." "Maybe survival isn't just about genetics," Marcus suggested. "Maybe it's about building something bigger than ourselves." "Yes," the Great Mother said slowly. "Perhaps it is." She touched a section of the chamber wall and it became transparent again, showing the view outside. Starbase 7 hung in space nearby, looking small and fragile against the void. "Your species puzzles me," the Great Mother continued. "In battle, humans fight with terrible ferocity. You destroy our ships, kill our warriors, show no mercy to our soldiers. Yet you save our children and treat them with the same care you would show your own young." "War and peace are different things," Marcus replied. "In war, we fight to protect what we love. In peace, we try to build something worth protecting." The Great Mother turned back to him, her massive head tilting in what might have been curiosity. "And what would you build, Father Guardian, if the choice were yours?" Marcus thought about the question seriously. A place where children of both species could grow up together, where Zethkri and humans could learn from each other, where being different doesn't mean being enemies. "The juveniles have spoken of similar dreams," the Great Mother said. "They describe a vision of cooperation between our peoples, of shared colonies and mutual understanding. Is this truly possible?" "I don't know," Marcus admitted, "but it's worth trying. The alternative is that we keep killing each other until there's nothing left worth saving." The Great Mother nodded slowly. "You speak wisdom, though it is not wisdom my people will easily accept. We have known only conquest or submission, victory or defeat. The concept of equal partnership is as foreign to us as parental care for enemy young was to you." "Then maybe we both need to learn new ways of thinking," Marcus suggested. "Perhaps we do," the Great Mother agreed. She paused, then made what sounded like a decision. "I will make you an offer, Father Guardian. It is an offer that has never been made to any non-Zethkri in our history." Marcus waited, sensing the importance of what was coming. "Join my family as an adopted son consort," the Great Mother said. "Take a place of honor in our hierarchy. Help me teach my people that there are paths besides war. In return, I will work to end this conflict and establish the cooperative colonies you envision." The offer hung in the air between them like a challenge. Marcus understood its implications. He would have to leave humanity behind, become something between species, bridge two civilizations that had known only hatred. "What about the juveniles?" Marcus asked. They will choose their own paths, the Great Mother replied. They may come with us to learn Zethkri ways or remain with your people to serve as ambassadors. Their choice will be honored. Marcus closed his eyes and thought about everything that had brought him to this moment. His choice in the crashed ship had started as simple mercy. Now it had grown into something that could reshape the galaxy. But as he considered the Great Mother's offer, Marcus realized something important. The greatest gift he could give the juveniles was not his protection, but his trust in their ability to make their own choices. I'm honored by your offer, Marcus said carefully, but I think there's a better way. The Great Mother's eyes narrowed slightly. Explain. Let the juveniles be the bridge between our species, Marcus said. They understand both cultures now. They can teach your people about human compassion and teach humans about Zethkri wisdom. Let them build the future they envision. And what of you? The Great Mother asked. Let me be what I've always been. Someone who protects children and helps them grow, Marcus replied. Make me an ambassador, not a consort. Let me work with your people and mine to create a place where all our young can learn from each other. The Great Mother considered this for a long moment. Then, to Marcus's surprise, she began to make a sound that might have been laughter. You reject power and status in favor of service, she said. You choose to remain what you are rather than become what you could be. This too defies my understanding of intelligent behavior. Maybe that's why it might work, Marcus suggested. The Great Mother nodded slowly. Perhaps it is. Very well, Father Guardian. Let us try this new path. Let us see if children can succeed where warriors have failed. The journey back to Starbase 7 took only hours, but it felt like a lifetime to Marcus. When he arrived,